Thank you.
My pleasure, Benzie. My Benzie, I just want to give you a quick heads up. I do something unusual in my Uber. I like to live stream my rides just to share my experiences with amazing people in my rides. So just don't share anything too personal or anything like that. Just so you have the heads up that way. Is this your regular start to a day?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually quite friendly, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been picking people up like earlier at 5 and 4 in the morning, and I think, oh, that's a tough early start for some people, right? But,
Yes.
where are you from, Benzie?
I'm from Pakistan.
Pakistan. I've never met a Benzie before.
Oh,
Is it short for a longer name or just Benzie?
it's just the name.
Just the name.
Parents gave me.
Oh. Well, you're my first. It sounds very, very similar to my name. So my name is Binyam,
Bintegers.
but the translation in English is Benjamin.
Oh,
And that's what makes me think with Benzie, a very close derivative, it sounds like. Yeah.
so where are you from?
I'm from Ethiopia.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I've worked with some people
From Ethiopia as well?
yeah, we had engineers working with
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
Working with the engineering company.
Okay, gotcha.
So we find so many different people working for different places.
I see, I see. Engineering is one of those careers I've never even considered because it doesn't, like, I'm not drawn to it. But as an engineer yourself, what was the attraction for you in the role of an engineer? What was it that said,
I like to, have it on paper before it's going to be constructed.
oh, I see.
So that's the design we make.
I see, I see.
So engineering is to know the way it's before it's going to be constructed.
Uh-huh, I see. So the conceptual, theoretical
Yeah,
approach first before the practical.
yeah. And then when you see what you had been designing,
Yeah.
it's looked like that in real life. But ours is not architectural
Yeah.
for building.
Yeah.
Ours is like for roads and highways, bridges.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Yeah,
So there's been quite a bit of construction around the city.
yeah,
And when I see these areas that they have been designing, for example, I know there's some of them that are very complex, you know?
yeah.
And the thing that I reflect on in my mind when I see that, I say, what kind of genius mind can come to an area like this before any of this is here and conceptualize how this is going to go, where the measurements are going to go, how wide it's going to be, where your foundations are going to go. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, there are different departments for that. For example, there's
Okay.
geotechnical to see the stability of the ground
Okay.
first, and then how far we need to go to,
Yeah.
in order for building or bridge foundation to
Yeah.
be stable.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if the land is no good, then they do different things.
Okay.
Make it. It's called engineering strength.
Okay.
Then we just increase the foundation with the steel and everything.
So you're even taking that into account.
So it's always considered first.
Hmm. Oh, did you see this license plate in front of us?
Grateful.
I like that. That's really good. I take note of license plates often. And the vanity ones that are special,
Mm.
I like trying to consider, I wonder what's the story behind that. I was with my daughter yesterday, my 13-year-old daughter. I was on a date with her,
Oh.
and she was sharing with me a word that she's found very meaningful and impacting on her, and it was the word grateful. And I was so excited when I heard that, because I think even in my experience, gratitude
Mm.
is one of the sources of joy that I continue to derive a great amount of because of gratitude. Yeah. Anyway, I was gonna say, it's almost like in that role where you have to consider all those factors in your career and the job that you do, you almost become like a jack of all trades, having to account for the strengths, like you were saying, of the soil and the,
Yes. Yeah, different. Geotechnical engineering is separate,
I see.
and then civil engineering is different. Then there is structural engineering.
So all these work
All these
together.
departments are within the company,
Oh,
and then everybody is involved,
yeah,
and everybody gets whatever structural engineer need the information from civil.
yeah,
Then we give them. Geotechnical
Yeah.
will go and bring.
yeah,
We go deep borehole
yeah,
and bring the soil, so you know how far is the stones, how far is the gravel,
right.
all those information, and then they decide on the foundation is always by structure.
That is so fascinating. Even when I'm downtown, as I'm driving through all these big towers.
Yeah, those are sometime maybe the you know like for example CN Tower
Yes,
can go 3 meter this way and 3 meter that way.
it can sway.
Yes, because of any situation.
Yeah,
So those things are considered so that it doesn't fall.
but does it actually sway that much, or is just allowance for that
It's
much?
the allowance.
The allowance,
and
okay.
Foundation underneath is very deep.
Uh,
We put piles,
yeah,
so like concrete pile or
Yeah.
battered
yeah,
piles.
yeah,
Then the foundation is sitting on that, but the thing is going angular in the ground.
yeah.
The holes. But that could go like sometime 130 meters below the ground in order to keep that high tower standing there. Because you make such a big tower,
Yeah.
it will be a problem fallen anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Or anything falls from there will be a problem.
So when I see all these feats like that are, and that they hold and they're solid in the midst of adverse conditions, it really amazes me. My mind doesn't think that way, but I can appreciate the minds that do, that we're able to facilitate. Even
When we see the model, for example, downtown's model, we see like hundreds of meters down, you see the foundations
going straight down there. So even now, for example, there's been some buildings that have been torn down and they're already developing the ground, and they've got these really large. I drove this man a few days ago. He was a driller, and he said all he does is his job is to drill deep holes deep into the ground, basically. So I imagine that's what they're preparing, is that foundation as they dig deep in the ground. Is that right?
Yes, and then those piles, we hammered them down
Yeah.
with the machine. There
Yeah.
was a big hammer.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah. I've seen that. Loud. Point. Yeah, yeah.
And they push them down to
Right.
the length that engineer has given
I see. Huh.
in order to be strong, because he studied the soil,
Yeah.
that how far we should go
Gotcha.
and where we're going to hit the water hole. We're going to pass through that layer of water,
Mm.
because nature has so much in the ground.
Yeah.
The layers are, I mean, there's oil, there's water, there's everything.
I used to work on the rigs once upon a time, and I remember when I think it was a geologist or someone who came to check the samples that we would be taking through each little layer that we were going through. It's very, very interesting. So what kind of engineer are you?
Civil,
Civil. That means you look after like the building side?
the roads, the design
Thank you.
of the. So civil engineering is for highways, roads, bridges,
Okay.
and
Okay.
Drainage,
Okay.
the stormwater,
Gotcha.
and all those, and
So
sewage and all that.
how often is your mind in that mode when you're traveling on roads as you're watching the road? Is your mind always thinking, oh, here's what they did here, here's how they...
Yeah, and wherever it's not properly draining,
Yes.
no, they didn't do a good job.
I see. So draining is a significant part of that
That
calibration.
is because if there's more rain
Yeah,
and the water is on the road, the cars are gonna not go anywhere.
right.
It
right.
happens in Dubai. We see
Ah.
videos,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah,
Because they never thought it's gonna rain,
yeah.
so they just did whatever, put the gullies and this and that, stormwater manholes, but they were never used maybe.
Huh.
But when it was
Yeah.
flooded the whole city,
Yeah.
and people were driving and stopping in the middle, and they
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. But here in Canada, we have almost everything. The weather is all around.
It is.
You get snow, then it just when the sugar comes or
Yeah.
when the weather changes, it
Yeah.
has to go away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that uses those. On the road, we have, every 20 meter, 25 meter, we have a gully
I see.
that takes the water down to
Yeah.
the drainage system.
Uh-huh. When I think drainage, I'm thinking the kind of work that plumbers do. They're also concerned about drainage, right?
Yes.
Where's the flow going and the measurements that are necessary for...
There it's easier to
It is.
connect to the system that's already there by city.
But on the roads, you have to make
Yeah.
other plans
On
for
the
that.
road, you have to. So now this road is sloped
Yeah.
2% that way,
Okay.
so the water goes that way.
Gotcha. And that's by
Stays
design.
clear, yeah.
Ah, I see.
But on the highways, we keep a chamfer in the middle,
Hmm.
so water flows both sides.
So almost it has to come down like this.
Water has to either go one side or both sides, depending on how. Otherwise, it stays there and the weather changes.
Mhm.
It's gonna be black ice and dangerous for people.
I see. I was remembering when we have like flash rainstorms here, and there's areas or pockets that flood. And some of those that I've noticed are like in the downtown when you have the underpass underneath the railroad, oftentimes those areas will fill up with water very quickly because the drainage doesn't happen as quickly. So those aren't navigable. But it's that kind of thing that you're saying civil engineers have an eye for, saying, how do we account for this?
Yes.
Gotcha. I never knew anything about this. This is amazing. You spent some time in Dubai, is that right?
Yes, I did.
How many years were you there for?
About 5 to 7.
In the same capacity as well.
Yes, about 5 to 7.
Have they done a switch now or a shift in the way that they design, given their experience with flooding like that, because of lack of preparation?
They may be, they were quite advanced
Okay.
there. Now the drain system has come afterwards. When we were there, it was I left Dubai in 2002.
Okay.
So,
And then you moved here.
yeah.
Gotcha.
After that, Dubai looks different.
I've never been there,
No,
but I've only
it
seen
is
pictures and videos. It is, eh? Isn't that where they have now? I'm sure it's not the only one anymore, but there's like a 7-star hotel there now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or in the sea.
Yeah.
The one in the sea.
The one that looks like, is it a yacht or something like that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to live like 100, 150 meter away from there. That is in an area called Jumeirah.
Okay.
I used to run in the morning, go and make a U-turn from that hotel.
Okay.
We have seen from inside. You
Yeah.
have to pay to see.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you, okay.
So 100, 150 at that time per person to go inside and see. So there's quite a bit of gold.
I see.
Columns
I see.
and things. So it's not everybody who can go there.
I see.
It has a helipad.
I've seen that too. Isn't that
So
crazy?
if you have enough money,
Yeah.
you get down in Dubai airport, they
Yeah.
pick you up with the helicopter,
And take you there.
take you. Or you can decide to go on Lamborghini taxi.
And the stay is quite a bit there. Like it costs a lot to stay there.
Yeah, it's good to hear all those, but to enjoy you need a lot of money.
Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting. I find there are so many beautiful things to experience in this world. Some of the things that really resonate with me, Benzi, are things that resonate with me are like the nature aspect. You know, when you see an amazing sunset, when you see like a beautiful rainforest, or like these kind of experiences where you just sit there and you're reminded how small you are in comparison to how vast this is and how gorgeous and how complex and how independently like it continues to sustain itself. I find those really compelling. I'm sure like this beautiful hotel is also wonderful to experience as well.
Yeah.
But the things that I'm especially watchful of are the beautiful things we can experience that don't have a high entry cost. So for example, I feel a little bit of sadness when I go to like the provincial parks and I'm like, this is lovely, but I have to pay to get this, you know, as opposed to something about just walking into a space and just being able to enjoy it in its native setting, kind of. Maybe one day I'll have that pleasure of visiting and seeing this amazing creation. Because even here, for example, in the city, we just finished building the BMO Center, the Bank of Montreal, down on the Stampede grounds. I don't know if you've seen the new addition onto that building.
Yeah, I think last Stampede it was open.
Oh, was, eh? I didn't realize that. Anyway, like
Yeah, it was good.
just that accomplishment. Again, I see that and I'm like, this is amazing. I don't have the skill for this, but a whole bunch of people did together collaboratively. And that continues to like make me think this is something amazing and wonderful, right?
I think their food will be packed.
Do you suggest something more? Something better?
I normally go by 14th Street.
14th accent, okay.
Yeah, but I think maybe we can go by Center Street.
So maybe just jump off on 64th?
Yeah.
Excellent, let's do that then. I think you're right though, yeah. Let's make that happen.
This is
This is the crawl. Yep.
I used to take the effort for about 2-3 years.
Okay.
But then on the snowy day it gets crazy, but on the normal day it's just crazy driving. People just drive so crazy. You're scared that, you keep following guy and then he suddenly brakes and the guy at the back doesn't notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I went to Center Street.
Yeah.
Center Street was slow because of the bus route. That's the bus route.
Okay.
I drove there for 2 years. Then I thought, no, I'm going to go to 14th. Somebody suggested that 14th Street is very quiet and okay.
Okay.
Been driving there for 3 years. Still okay. I like
To get to 14th, we'll have to go down to McKnight, though, right?
it. No, from here. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That one. But
Yeah.
if you want to go Center Street, is fine.
I'm happy to take your suggestion because I'm on your schedule. Yeah, I'm good with either way.
Yeah, but this one will take too long if you
I
go to
agree.
Deerfoot.
I agree.
Because just to get to Deerfoot is too crowded.
Yep, everyone's thinking the same thing. I mean, they're expanding it or widening it,
They are.
but it'll take some time still, and hopefully that'll
Yeah,
release
I
some
don't know
pressure.
how much is going to help because of people. The amount of people coming to
Calgary, that's true.
is
Significant.
increasing the load of the
I've seen that.
road, and we don't have that much infrastructure. I mean, it needs to be planned.
Yeah,
They never thought before
yeah,
that they will have this many people.
yeah. Especially given that it's the most economically friendly city currently in the country, right?
And everything is becoming expensive now.
It is, absolutely. We're seeing
Rent
it.
is unbelievably
I agree.
high.
I've been feeling that, yeah.
$3,000 for rent.
Yeah.
So I don't know if somebody, you have to go right.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so take Baddington here. I was thinking 64th, but yeah, there's probably a better way this way.
Yeah. So from here and then 4th Street.
Okay. I'll watch for it. I would love to get some of your ideas on a topic that I've been thinking about and investing a lot of time in. This topic is left here, okay. This is on the theme of integrity. Integrity is one of those things that Benzie have wanted to experience and understand better for many years, and it just seemed inaccessible, and I was stumbling in my way of trying to get my mind around it. After many mistakes in my life, I feel I have a better experience of it. One of my missions now is how can I make this conversation on integrity more accessible to young men specifically. But I have sort of a unique game that I have if I have time with my riders. I have like a list of 7 questions. They're thought-provoking questions, but if you're open to it, I would love to get some of your thoughts on this theme. And the way I do it is you choose a number between 1 and 7. I'll read that question and we'll explore that. Would you like to do that?
I don't know how much I know about those things, but sure.
The beautiful part about it is I like the candid conversation that comes. It's not a skill testing question as opposed to, well, what's your experience on this? And what are your thoughts, basically? So that's where I gain a lot of new insights and ideas from others who think in a different way. So give me your suggestion for a number between 1 and 7.
Oh, you have the...
I have the questions in front of me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
3. This is an interesting one. The question is, how does integrity impact one's decision-making process?
So, for example, when you make a decision, how is your...
How does the idea of integrity guide that process of making decisions?
Yeah, decisions. It's not always in your hand. You make decisions sometimes depending on the situation around you and people around you. You just sometimes you think afterwards, but then somewhere it will be impacted your integrity. But I think it's tries to think beforehand, since it's a decision that you're going to take. So
Yeah.
it's better to think different avenues, think about people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we make a decision that's not bothering me, but it might affect my kids
Right.
down the road.
Sure. I see.
That's all I think that it's. And sometimes those decisions just becomes a mistake. Say, oh sorry, I made a mistake.
I see.
It's not out of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
yes, people make decisions depending on current situation.
Yeah.
If you have time, then you make decisions. Sometimes it's no time to
Right.
make a decision.
Right. I like that answer, and I think what I liked in your answer was how you were saying a lot of it is pre-choreographed because you're thinking ahead and saying, what are the values that I have that will help me understand which direction I'm going to choose.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But is this?
Take right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Is
you're
this
right.
64?
I believe you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 64. I'll take it right. I like that, yeah.
Yeah, you may have because everybody has different, way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people make better decisions. It's not that everybody makes a mistake, but
Mm-hmm.
this happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes a really thoughtful decision can be a problem.
Sure. I can take this all the way to 14th now, right?
This can?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I can. I think I can. Yeah, let me just make sure. Yeah, this will go all the way to 14th. We can turn left on center, but let's go right to 14th and find a quicker way down then. How, in your words, would you define integrity? Or how would you describe it?
Integrity is your self-respect. How you carry yourself, how much you use your words and everything.
Mhm.
It's not gonna hurt you
Yeah,
later.
gotcha.
Self-respect is that's very important to me because sometimes people then take another decisions because of their self-respect.
Right.
If possible,
Yeah.
you should take time to think
Mm-hmm.
and make decisions.
Mm. I never considered it in relation to self-respect. That's thought-provoking. But there is that element where you're acknowledging the worth you have internally to be able to say, here's what my lines are drawn, right?
What are your thoughts on?
Let me share where I've had some time to mull it over and hear so many different perspectives. I like starting with maybe how I understand conceptually what integrity is. When I looked at the idea that Google suggested for the definition, and I encourage you to check it out when you have a moment later, it was, I wasn't satisfied. I said, this doesn't hit the right notes, you know? It said something like having moral qualities or something like that, and I thought, so I wrestled with it some more. My proposal for defining integrity or describing it is to say, integrity is the alignment between one's internal values and their external actions. So when your internal commitments, your moral code that you hold, whatever that is, when you're able to act in alignment with that, that seems to be integrity for me. So when I think of also like self-respect, it's almost like saying, I have a sense of what my true north looks like and how I want to get to this destination of what it feels like for me, you know? And so that's how I conceptualize integrity as an idea. And then in relation to the question, how does it impact one's process of making decisions? I think just make sure that this guy's not going to sneak out on me. I wonder if you can see outside sometimes. Ooh,
Yeah, it didn't even clean its way.
he didn't, no. I'm just watching those parameters. He was probably late or something, but still doesn't feel safe. So when I think about how it impacts one's decision making, I agree with you when you were saying how to. There's an element, it seems to me, Benzi, where you know you have a good awareness of what your values are, which means you are self-aware about what that is. It means that you're thinking about it and saying and defining and articulating, saying this is what makes sense to me. That takes a lot of work, and I'm not sure many people have had that opportunity to sit down and say, here's what I value in life, and here's how I want to live accordingly, right? But when we take the time to say, what do I really believe? Here's how I was brought up. In the way that I was brought up, do I still subscribe to all those values that have impacted and influenced the way I've developed over time? Or are there some values that I don't hold as closely like others do? Maybe there is that, you know? But the real question is, at the very core, not based on how your parents taught you or not how your culture appropriates it, but what are those values that you say, this is my number one? And I like keeping that open for personal consideration, because it's not the same for everyone. In one person, they may value patience as their top priority. Yet you may find another individual who values playfulness as their top value. You know, but whatever that is, getting aware of that, self-aware, and then knowing how that is going to now impact the choices you have when you have circumstances come in your life. So for example, let's say these two individuals, one with playfulness, one with patience as their top values. Let's say they're in a work context together and their employer is a very difficult boss to work with. So the boss, everyone who works for him is always frustrated because this boss just makes life difficult. The person who values patience is going to choose a different way of responding in the scenarios where they're challenged with this challenging employer than the one who's playful. The playful one, we try to bring light atmosphere into the situation. The patient one may be more inclined to look for the right moments to maybe have a word with the boss or to stay longer despite the challenge that it is, that kind of thing. So like you were saying, they're able to pre-choreograph their response that's true to their value and follows through in their action because they had that chance to be able to say, what does this mean to me and how do I engage and take up space now? So that's like my thought on that too. And in the absence of that, when a person doesn't have that opportunity to reflect and consider what their real values are, they may find that their responses are inconsistent. Sometimes they may have patience. Other times they may not. But knowing what your values are gives you that sort of true north mark to aim for as you're striving for what you want to see exemplified in your life, I think.
Yeah, I think that's.
Hmm. We're moving still. Slow too, but we're still moving.
Yeah, no, this is crazy.
Yeah. It might be the snow factor too, I think, hey?
It is.
Yeah. Why do you think, Menzi, that integrity is so challenging to experience currently in general in our society?
I think it's just simply patience is the key. People don't have patience nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
They just want cortisol.
Yeah.
Grow fast.
Yep.
Now it's not there. It's just, it looks like life has become a competition. You want to go faster and ahead of other people.
Are these challenges you were describing, were they the same when you were young once upon a time? Or were they different challenges in culture at that
I
time?
think we used to see our older people just taking it easy,
Mm-hmm.
having patience.
Yeah.
I mean, there was lots of factor of talking about God.
Yeah.
And saying, God will do it.
Yeah.
But nowadays that I see is people think they will do it. He can go faster. He can do everything. But it doesn't really go that way.
Mm-hmm.
It just, you can go faster and you might end up having some collision or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then go back to zero. So I'm thinking this strategy for older people had to have the patience that things will happen. Give the other person time for him to do something. Now we start giving something to some people, for example, a work,
Mm-hmm.
and then start following them.
Mm-hmm.
Try to micromanagement
Mm-hmm.
how things can be done faster.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people get annoyed and may not perform properly. Because we need to trust them,
Mm-hmm.
give them time
Mm-hmm.
and respect.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, I see that it's changing on a fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
It was not there like that. People used to respect each other. Now, unless you have something, even in Calgary, when I was here in the beginning in 2002,
Mm-hmm.
almost everybody say hi to everyone
Mm-hmm.
on walking. Now people will say hi if you have to do something with them. You work with them. They see you every day.
Mm-hmm.
On the road, they just have nothing to do with you. So that humanity factor is not there,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I was,
I'm not sure how you have experienced that, but
I think my experience is a little bit different in the sense that, for example, I had a young, yeah, she was young, a young rider with me last night when I was driving, and the question she asked me was, how do you, because we had a chance to have conversation, but she said, you seem to have a lot of optimism in the way you see the world. And she says, where does that come from?
oh,
And so I know a lot of people that I've spoken to, it is very evident that it's a very broken world, for sure. And we see it especially in the way humans relate or don't relate, right? And you even look at it in the microcosm and the macro as well. On the scale of nations that are going to war with each other and having hatred for each other, to neighbors who are not good neighbors, you know. And so, from my vantage point, I do acknowledge that I have a lot of optimism, but I don't want to have optimism in a way that is unreasonable, which means I don't want to have my head like an ostrich in the sand. I don't want to have rose-colored glasses, just saying, oh, everything will be fine, and only see the good, without actually taking into reflection the reality of the way things are. So I mix my optimism with generous doses of realism, saying, but here's what is right now. Here's how things currently are. Here's the reality of how things are. So I try to take an account in that. And as I do so, it's in that space that I say, okay, now that I see this state of affairs that is really quite challenging and confusing and discouraging. It's in that space that I say, but what are the options here? And so I like the idea of redemption. I like the idea that, especially in our state as human beings, I'm so committed to this idea that should a person choose, they can be better. You know, I reject the idea that says they're like a person is locked off with no hope forever. A person who may have made some devastating, awful, consequential choices in their life. So I'm not advocating for just wiping the slate clean. It's more like, no, you need to acknowledge and take ownership and face the consequences for whatever you've done this far. But it's not game over, in the sense that there's still an opportunity, even if the world isn't going to give you that sort of second chance, that should you desire it, like you can actually pursue what it means for that transformative nature to take into effect. So I'm a big fan of that. And I guess even as I see the reality of how things are, yes, I acknowledge how challenging it is, and yet in the midst of the great challenge, I see opportunity. Whereas others saying lost cause, I'm like, oh no, there's massive opportunity here. You know, it's almost like when. Can you see the city over there, by the way? Just faintly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Just ever so faint, right? Oh my. Yeah. So I see the magnet, the immensity of the challenge, and in the midst of that, I say, but there's so much opportunity to walk into that and maybe make a difference. Hence why I like doing what I'm doing. Some may say it's a lost cause, humanity is a lost cause, and you're just wasting your time. I say maybe, maybe that's so, but with the energy that I have on offer, I at least want to shine that little flashlight in the middle of the dark to help someone see a little further the way I see. So I guess in short, I'm optimistic. A realistic optimist. Yeah. Do you have children?
Yes.
How many?
4.
What's the age range of your children?
24, 21, 18, 15.
Okay. So about a decade between the oldest and the youngest. 9
yes.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have 3 myself. Mine are 13, 11, and 10. So just a little bit behind you in season.
Yes.
Well, we
15. So my younger one is going to be 15.
15. They're 14 right now. How many girls and boys?
2 boys, 2 girls.
2 boys and 2 girls. And the eldest, which ones are the girls and which ones are the boys?
The elder one is girl. She's married.
Yeah.
And then the boy is in UFC.
Okay.
And then daughter,
Okay.
she's in UFC too.
Okay.
The younger one is in high school.
Gotcha. There we are. Mine are girl, boy, girl.
Oh,
So he's surrounded by his sisters. In your perspective, what's the most challenging part of being a dad?
the most important for me is to guide them,
Mm-hmm.
help them,
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
This world is kind of a tough place.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're better learned and patient is, as we talked about, is the key for parenting. Because every kid is different. You know, 4 of them, they're all different.
Agreed.
And to take them the way they are
Mm-hmm.
and teach them the way they understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very important. And being there for them,
Mm-hmm.
and they will learn from your actions and not from whatever you teach.
So true.
They don't listen whatever you say. They see what you are doing. That's why people say he's like his dad, because he's been following the action, not teaching. If the actions are polite and very respectful, considering that the kids are watching, then whatever you say will be taken. But if your preaching is against the actions, nothing is going to go there. They take their own action, and they think that you are lacking. So I sit down so many times, talk to my, especially my daughters, are very talkative. So they like to discuss. And we sit down on the dining table and ask them, do you think anything dad or mom need to change, learn? Because are we just forcing ourselves? Because this is a different culture than we came. So our teaching is definitely different than what is being here. So they listen something from us and go see different in the school, or hear different from their friend. So how to balance that? I mean, if it is open, maybe you can learn, and instead of just saying no, this is our culture, this is our culture, one day the kids run away. The culture is there, but yes, this is okay what they're doing. We don't say anything against them, but every not everybody is carpenter, not everybody is engineer. So people, they take different. We don't need to follow others for good or bad. The best teacher is your home, your mom and dad, and that just requires so much patience and pure love.
Yeah.
Just like dying for them. Then they have a soul. It's just felt. It's not talked about. You can say that. They don't. They will feel my dad loved me when you actually living together. That's my dad. They only remember things what they have seen in your life. I can read a book and teach them. There was when they were small, bought a book from Costco. There were lots of books sitting.
Yeah.
A girl how to train a daughter.
Yeah.
Or for son.
Yeah.
But I don't think there is any book for parenting. It's just pure love that we have seen in our home. We knew what was going on. And it's a full-time job. They will talk about, they should talk about our life. No, this is how my dad. That's what I learned. And he's not wrong. Those things take time. When it was first daughter, we were trying all the experience of our, just teaching them.
Yeah.
And then we see resistance, we see that something but it was more clear to us when son was born.
Yeah.
And then we were in a different place. We were in Dubai when my daughter was born. We came here and we had to learn
Yeah.
lots.
Huh.
seeing they have very good parents here.
Yeah.
You know, there's Canadians, they are wonderful parents.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from them too. I learned from my kids, learned from my colleagues. They keep talking about their family, their kids, and there's something that I think, oh, I'm missing that.
Mm.
I quickly grab that. Well,
Mm.
a person who wants to learn is never learned. There's always to learn.
Mm.
You can never say I'm fully learned.
Mm.
Especially when it's a big responsibility. You're gonna put somebody in the world who's either dangerous or very nice and polite and
Mm.
become a good citizen.
Yeah. Huh.
So I'm so glad that I've never told my son to go out and work during his time off from school, university. But he see him, he just went by himself.
Mm.
He was just always at home, not worrying for anything. And just one day he said, you know what, I'm gonna go, I found this job. I'm going to go into this. He used to go on the airport, you know, with his friends.
Mm.
And we appreciated. He had a car, he just goes himself,
Mm.
gets up in the morning,
Yeah.
really take out the luggage and
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah.
So this I never told him.
Yeah.
All I showed him from my life is that work is very important to run the life. Don't dream anything that is going to come for free. Work and then you're satisfied.
Mm.
That's just what
Mm.
I think for both the older ones. And one kid followed your steps is going to impact the others. You did something wrong somewhere, so it's going to impact the others.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think quickly, when it comes to kids,
Yeah.
we parents should quickly learn, apologize, move. We're never perfect,
Mhm.
but we learn.
Mhm.
We can learn.
Agreed. Mm.
That's what I think I'm doing. Still learning.
I was reflecting on the. Okay, so it's wonderful when I hear, especially an immigrant, who's saying, I have to pivot and learn from others who have ideas. My experience has been a lot more of doubling down, saying, here's how our culture does it, we're going to stay this way, despite the context culture we're in, for example. How did you get to that space where others don't?
I was in Dubai
Mhm.
first, and then I saw that there wasn't. Everybody's just there for work.
Mhm.
So you work for some time, and then you retire, go back to your own country. So you don't feel it's need to change. When you come to a country as an immigrant
Mhm.
and you want to live there now
Mhm.
and become part of that culture,
Mhm.
I think you need to fit in. You need to not change anything about yourself, but you can always improve and improvise.
Mhm.
That's where I always thought that me personally. I have seen there are friends that we meet, they just stick to whatever they have. But we just think that it's not that we have to 100% follow
Mhm.
whatever we have.
Mhm.
But there are so many things from here to there are families here, there are people, you read their history,
Mhm.
okay, They did everything for their family.
Yeah.
So, and it's an open and free country that you can follow your religion no matter what you're following. No restrictions
Yeah.
for anyone.
Mm.
And you can keep teaching your kids and yourself about your own religion and your faith.
Yeah.
Everyone is living at peace, so why not learn and understand? The peace comes from within. If you're only keen on learning, you will keep improving. But if we become stubborn saying, well, this is the thing, then the kids sometimes bring questions. When they sit down with me, they have lots of questions. Can I answer all of them? But yes, I think their ideas, I just give them their ideas.
Yeah.
Some questions I don't have answers, so and they're okay with that. But I think it's if I was in Australia, I would just a person who is trying to always improve and learn will fit in anywhere. But you will feel people are coming against you when you are just trying to follow something that is not understandable by others. Everybody should understand what you are trying to do. And as long as it's all clear, nobody has a problem.
One of the things I like considering, because I'm also an immigrant, so son of immigrants as well, I appreciate the opportunity to contrast this culture with the one that I come from. And I like considering what are the things my culture could benefit from if they were to learn it from this culture, and vice versa, what could we learn here from my culture? What are some of those things that you've noticed in your observation? By the way, it's suggesting a turn here. Shall I just keep going straight, or?
Yeah, straight.
Awesome, good.
So it's saying to turn?
It's suggesting to turn back onto Center Street, but it's opening up now anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
this is the traffic light. That's why it's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what are those things that you have identified that you're like, wow, this culture does this really well, and if my culture were to learn from this culture, this would be one of those elements that would benefit, and vice versa, the other way around.
We have so many things in our not nowadays we used to. By then they have moved forward.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
So like family values.
Yeah.
And respecting our elders.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to be nice to relatives that are not directly from your family, but related somehow.
Sure.
We have all those respect and those things come here, and we call them different respect. But here, they have different way of, talking to people. But I think there is some good things here.
Yeah.
Ours, and we make kids aware of both, that we are there's always something different
Sure.
from your culture to another culture
Yep.
that we think is good, and then we experience and find out maybe not.
In hindsight, right? Yeah.
In our country, for example, there are relatives that you can really trust them, and they will whether it's family values there,
Yeah.
which is here, or you're on your own.
Yeah.
It's you and your wife and
Yeah.
kids. It's the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And everyone else is just working for themselves.
I've seen that. Yeah. I think what I appreciate as I listen to your story and your perspectives, I think I'm appreciating there's a certain sense of humility that says I don't have the answers, but I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to pivot, I'm willing to evolve, you know. So I appreciate that as I hear your story.
Yeah.
I would say it's uncommon. Uncommon because in many, again, from my perspective and my experience, there's a lot more ingrained, we're digging in deep, hard line this way. This is what our commitment is. Here's how we're going to go forward. And yeah, that doesn't foster that sense of approach that can yield, acknowledge, change. Yeah.
Do you think that when the immigrants come here, they need to change?
I think so. I think so because the traditions, the values that they grew up in their setting, coming into a different setting, there may be some things that don't align well with the new setting, right? So one of the things I often, if I have the opportunity with new immigrants, especially who have young kids, or any kids, is, and again, I speak from my experience, I say, you're going to realize that you want to hold to your culture so you don't lose it. I understand that. You want to keep that same sense of back home here because it's familiar. You want your kids to grow up and take that on as well. But the challenge here I usually share with them is your kids are going to be with you for just a small fraction of the time. You'll have them for dinner maybe. They'll be, like the amount of time that you're going to spend with them is very small in comparison to the amount of time they're going to spend outside the home, from school to sports activities to time with friends socially. And then additionally, there's also the culture at large, the culture that this is here. And the influence comparatively, yours is going to continue to diminish as they integrate into a new community, into a new culture that has a different set of values. And that influence is going to be tangible. So my encouragement usually is consider the very small list, maybe count it on one hand, less than 3 or 4 fingers. Consider the non-negotiables that you say these are really important for us in our identity or our sense of who we are and what you want to pass on. But keep it very small and minimal because if you aim for everything that you say, all these parameters, your kids may grow up in a very confusing setting where they see the clash. But if you keep it very short, saying here's our values, here's the thing that we're locking down on, just 2 or 3 things, but also understand the flex that's going to happen as they integrate and see different ways of how people do life, the way they interact with their elders, the way they subscribe to ideologies and entertainment and connections along the way. That's something that I think is necessary, and if they don't calibrate for that, there'll be a lot more of this as they continue to try to make a life happen here, right? There's a lot in this culture as well that's not friendly for immigrants, I would argue. Now, on the one hand, I would suggest, Benzie, that this is like, I have so much gratitude that there are places like this in the world, places where you can come and make a new life, places where it makes space for you. I mean, it's not easy. You come, you're starting at the very bottom more often than not. You have nothing to your name, maybe no money, but at least it gives you the opportunity to start in a setting that is accessible. right? It's not like we have to pay bribes to people, the officers or whoever. It's more like there's equality where you have to work hard, yes, and you're probably not going to have access to education because you can't afford it. You're probably going to rent for the rest of your life or whatever. Or you're building a platform or a foundation for your family in essence. And so all that to say, so grateful for that. However, in addition to that, it's also a very unfriendly zone because there are many social rules of etiquette that are not written. They're unspoken. Everyone knows them here because they grew up in that setting. So they abide by those. But why it's challenging is because a newcomer coming in, they don't have any awareness of it. But everyone's subscribing to it. They don't talk about it. They don't explain it, but there it is. And that makes it really challenging because now they have to discern by learning through maybe painful experiences or just by watching and saying, oh, here's how I navigate in this setting in a way whereby I can also cohesively integrate. So for example, for a new person who comes from a very literal culture where what you say is what you mean, when they come to this setting here and everyone's saying, hey, call me anytime or come over anytime, when they hear that, they say, wow, how gracious, how generous. And in their culture, that means something. That means I will come over anytime. I'll call you anytime. In this culture, the unspoken rules say, I'm saying this, but it means something else. It means maybe sometime we'll get together. Maybe. But that's not the words that were said, you know? And so in the unfamiliarity of that cultural dynamic, the way of connecting in community can become more challenging if you don't learn those cues so that you can have a much better way of connecting with each other, right? And so, yeah, that's what I see in my reference point when I consider the expectations that immigrants come with and how it may need to shift so that they can survive socially. Yeah. And I mean, I've been here since I was 8 years old, so in my benefit, I was young. I did. I came here when I was 8 with my family. I went through school, but I had to learn these lessons the hard way in a school context. That had its own challenges for sure. But all that to say, now because I can see both sides, I feel like I am in a unique space to be an advocate for, and one who introduces others who are new, saying, hey, just so you know, welcome. It will be a difficult experience. Here's some of the factors that can make it difficult, but let me see if I can give you some shortcuts that may facilitate your connection a lot more seamlessly. And by contrast, I also feel like I'm in that bridge in between because having grown up here, I also understand the dynamic here. I can speak to the locals here and say, here's why I tell them very bluntly, Benji, say, you may think that this is a beautiful setting that you've made, but here's the ways that you could still consider room for growth. Here's what is in our minds as immigrants when we come in that you may not have access to. So when I hear, for example, in my job as an Uber driver, for example, I'll have many say, oh, this is such an amazing experience, and they're not like you, and you talk and you make it fun and all this kind of things, and no one else talks and they're just quiet and they may be grumpy or something like that. So I say, I could see your perspective, and it makes sense from your vantage point that this is the story that's most compelling. They're just doing this on purpose. But then I said, if the case is different, however, here's a different picture, here's a different story. Consider that most of your drivers, perhaps in this context of Uber, are immigrants who are fairly new to this country, maybe a year, less than a year, 2 years old, and they don't know the social etiquette. Imagine if you were in a different country and you did not understand the rules of navigation socially. Wouldn't you also be very hesitant to engage until you learn better? Wouldn't it be helpful if there was someone, a friendly ally in this culture that could take you and help you understand and have patience to do that? I'm not sure who has been able to do that for these individuals. And so here they are. They don't want to make any wrong mistakes. They're trying to provide for their family. They've probably come from a very well-paying position in their culture, and they had reputation and esteem and accomplishments. And now they're working at a very simple job, and so they're probably having their own challenges as well there too. So maybe there's a different story that could help give insight into a different experience and a different way of seeing the world that could engender more empathy, you know? And so it's those opportunities, for example, I find really helpful to say it's not always as simple as it seems on the periphery. So I'm grateful for my time here, the length of it, the challenges I had to go through, the skill that I have. Like, I feel at home in this culture, but I also still see the side that is not in this culture, you know? And so I'm as successful as I am because I take a lot of risks socially, but I know how to take the risks, and I know which rules I break because I've understood as thoroughly as I can how this culture works, so that I can engage in uncommon ways. My sister, my youngest baby sister, she's much younger than I am, but she said to me, "Binyam, you have no social anxiety." In reality, many in this, they definitely have social anxiety because they're always fearful of what someone else thinks. There's just this sense of hyper awareness that they don't want to offend someone. They don't want to say the wrong thing. And so as a result, they're very cautious. They're very careful and guarded, you know? Whereas I just walk in and say, here's what I think, here's what I feel, you know? And I communicate in ways that I've had to learn how to, that they may not have had that opportunity as well.
Yeah, not everybody can. I've not seen so many people. But you communicate really well.
Thank you. I've had to work hard at it. It's an area of interest that I wanted to grow in, and so I delight and I relish the opportunity to do it well. And even as I continue, I really appreciate honing in it and better. I don't always get it right. Sometimes I get it wrong, you know?
Yeah.
But even then, I still have that skill set to be able to navigate that misstep or whatever, you know? And so
So I go right from here.
down to 9th. Awesome. Good.
Ninth Avenue, then 6th Street, then right.
Okay.
You can probably close to it.
Happily.
Six.
I see that, yeah.
It's gonna be more snow tomorrow.
Is that so? I think winter is here now, brother. Winter is here.
Red light camera in 300 meters. Speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour.
And the company was spectacular. Just so you
Speed
know,
and red light
I did it
camera
our
in
time.
200 meters. Speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour.
What I say is, it's these kind of scenarios, these kind of settings that gives all of us collectively opportunities to grow in patience.
Yes. Yeah, this one is actually.
Yeah, so it's little things like yielding and giving the benefit of the doubt when someone's doing something that you're like, oh, that's a little weird.
Yeah, no, when I mean, as soon as you land in Canada, they you start learning.
Yeah.
Think.
Yeah, even on the road, like when you're driving here, there's a definitive rules of engagement sort of awareness that one has to have, right?
Yeah.
I used to teach driving to new immigrants.
Oh, you.
I used to. Like once upon a time, I was responsible for a large volunteer organization, and you know, we'd help them learn English and so on like that. But then they came to me and said, Binyam, like, we're getting opportunities now because we're growing in our proficiency to speak English to get jobs, but we need vehicles now. And so could you teach us, I couldn't have my volunteers teaching them how to drive, so I took that role specifically. And so I was taking these immigrants who had no experience behind a wheel before to prepare them to be ready for taking the examination. And my rule with them was, I'm not going to let you take that exam until I know I have confidence in your ability to pass. So it started very basic things in parking lots, empty parking lots, just getting familiar with the space, the car. To my final exam for them personally was, can you handle a multi-lane highway where there's lots of things happening around you? And you have to navigate when I tell you we're going to turn left here, we're going to need to cross over 4 lanes to get here. What's happening? There's just so many elements, right? Can you master your navigation in the densely populated areas? And so I was just remembering all that as I'm navigating through this kind of scenario where I taught them once.
Yeah, it just becomes more difficult when it's snowy and
Yeah.
not everybody is following. Today everybody is kind of okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, where is that one saying from?
Sorry.
No, the on the map.
And wrap around onto 3rd. But
Oh.
6 also works as well too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It might be a little faster still. You might find you're not the only one who's late to work today.
Oh yeah. We have flexible timings, so if I go late, I just
Work a little extra.
work extra.
Okay. Would you say your career has good job security? Like as a career in general, as an engineer?
I can say yes.
Yeah.
Here in Canada.
Yeah.
In Dubai, I never had to change,
Uh-huh.
so it was more work there for that purpose. When I came here,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was a recession,
Oh.
so no job. And I worked in the warehouse,
Okay.
and as you said, we start from zero.
Yeah.
So you want to have food on the table.
Sure.
Keep doing stuff,
Yeah.
working wherever you find. And I asked them, I put the name and you know what, go back and change. What
Yeah.
did you write for the time?
Yeah.
And I said, I wrote what I wanted.
Right.
So, evening, kind of.
Yeah.
And they said, no, that was wrong. You just put it anytime. I wrote anytime. But here you cannot turn anywhere, right?
Yeah. No, not yet. It's not till 5th.
No.
Yeah. Not till 5th.
So
Yeah.
then I wrote anytime and they gave me the night shift. So it was a Walmart's warehouse.
Yeah.
And they all the big TVs and all these
Mm-hmm.
boxes come
Mhm.
and put them on the conveyor. And that was really tough job. Then in 3 months I found a job.
Hmm.
Then every 5 years kind of recession comes here. So there was recession again,
Mhm.
lost job again.
Mhm.
I found a job in another company.
Mhm.
Then found a job,
Mhm.
worked 2 years somewhere and then found a job somewhere else.
Mhm.
But
Hmm.
I have worked like continuous 5 to 6 years in a company.
Hmm.
I am not sure if every job is secure here. In
Yeah. Yeah.
I I have seen people left the job and then went in a totally different career.
Yeah.
They went out, learned from sea to somewhere, and then
I spoke with a professor who was saying they are awarding so many graduate level doctorates and masters than there are positions for those education accomplishments. He was seeing in relation to offerings out there, you know. So yeah, it's tough.
yeah, people have gone back to school
Mm.
to do something. But, I can say it wasn't that difficult to find a job again
Mhm.
without hope.
I see.
But otherwise, I mean, and that time also company gave us some, because they laid us off and they
Yeah.
gave us few months salaries, 3 months salary.
Okay.
So you were out of work for only 3 to 4 months. So I can get on the left side.
On the left side, sounds good. Just rest can go up if you want
Yeah.
to make it easier. Benzie, again, it was such a pleasure. Thank you for your time together.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It was
Sounds good.
your car is equipped like with almost everything.
I try to cover the bases. Like I said, like for our time together, I really appreciate the opportunity to share with my audience good quality conversations. You know, I think it encourages them, inspires them. Yeah, I try to cover the bases to make sure that I'm bringing value. Yeah.
What are these?
These are chargers, so you can pull this
Uh-huh.
for your phones.
Oh.
It has different ones. I found these on Amazon, so yeah, you can plug your phone in if it's almost dead, and yeah, it's a really helpful feature, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, just here.
Okay. Let's pull off on the side here. I hope we have the pleasure again, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're so
Have a
welcome.
good day.
You too. Wow, wasn't that wonderful? That was a long ride, a long one already.